One difference I think that is important is as far as I can see, Obama comes from being an actual community leader and working hand in hand with people, at the lowest level of society. And Clinton, I think, grasped that kind of stuff in an intellectual, academic way, which is all well and good. But at least in my understanding or how I see it, didn't have that real hands in the dirt experience. How much that experience informs what Obama does and where he takes, his policies remains to be seen. And I will stay pretty skeptical until I see something impressive come out. Part of my personal politic is a pretty scathing review of power systems and power dynamics, and I'm pretty skeptical of anybody in that office.
Right. He's already been corporate vetted, so to speak, or he wouldn't get within a mile of that.
Yeah, well, and if you look, they're just starting to talk about who, Obama's going to put around him and being in the White House and his cabinet, and a lot of the names are Clinton-era appointees. So, that tells us exactly the kind of president he will be.
Right.
I read a thing a couple days ago. The military industry, the Halliburtons and the Boeings, all these guys gave way more to Obama than they did to McCain. Millions and millions of dollars. They saw the writing on the wall and they wanted their in.
Right.
And that's the name of the game. Obama has to take that money, and that's how he won, is he had all that money.
Yeah.
But the age-old question with American politics is, so what does he owe them?
Right, right. And then also, what does he owe sort of from the grassroots level people? He really organized his campaign, more like, not so much as an electoral campaign, but more like as a social change movement. He kind of used the rhetoric of it and stuff.
Yep.
So he's also got an answerable to on this side, and then from up there. So it's going to be, and he seems to be pretty masterful in kind of walking that tightrope. So it's.
I thought you were going to say walking on water, which maybe
we're not. I don't know if we're there, but he made a joke about I wasn't born in a manger. I was born on Krypton or something.
Well, no, I think that's to me a really exciting part of Obama's victory and the level of his. I mean, he trounced McCain really. And
George W. claimed a mandate with did he even barely get 50%?
Without even winning, which is incredible. And I think that to me the most exciting part about that is so much of it happened largely through these really this real grassroots organization, this real bottom up style of organizing a campaign. And what I would like to see is the people who took part in that really owning the sense of that victory and recognizing the power in that kind of organizing. Because it's that kind of grassroots, bottom-up thing that's going to get us universal health care and raise the minimum wage and increase our environmental standards and whatever else we want to accomplish as a society.
Right. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk a little more about the post, I believe, about the choices for the election, and you gave one choice described as voting is a scam. Our dreams can't fit in a ballot box, so I didn't vote. Not sort of as an apathetic point of view, but as sort of a righteous. I don't want any blood on my hands kind of point of view. And I just wonder, if you could kind of flesh that argument out, and then your critique of that or your rebuttal to that stance.
Yeah. And here's where I'm going to be slightly schizophrenic, because and I consider myself far left, anti-authoritarian left.
Not the Stalinist left, not the statist left
No,
that they try
no.
to scare everyone with when they say socialism.
No, not that.
Libertarian left.
I consider myself a libertarian socialist.
Okay.
which is just a code word for anarchist without saying that word because it's kind of
highly decentralized.
That word doesn't, yeah. But so the argument is, why elect, a leader, or why, why elect these people when really we're talking about ownership of our own lives and our own communities and our own workplaces, and the vision, the ideal, and it's important to know that we're talking about ideals and not talking about something that I imagine happening tomorrow or next year even, but something to work for and build towards.
Right.
But is a world where we're empowered in our own lives, and the ultimate authority is our own individual impulse as well as our accountability to the community. And something like electing a president or electing a city councilor even, or a governor, we're kind of disempowering ourselves and saying, you do all the work, make all the decisions. I can't be bothered. I got something else to do. So, I think that there's something a bit poetic and romantic about saying, our dreams will never fit in your ballot box, and this. I'm not a fan of bumper sticker politics, but here I am talking about it. This, if
I've actually never heard that line. So
if what is it? If voting changed anything, it would be outlawed. This kind of thing. That notion appeals to a certain part of me. And in this post, you're specifically talking about one thing that I had to say was, the problem with ideas like this is that they're really useless and, in fact, destructive unless placed within reality. And the reality is we had a presidential election. Me voting or not voting, or me voting for some weird third party, Ralph Nader or something else, that wasn't going to affect the fact that Obama or McCain were going to win. And even a step further, when I'm out on the streets talking to regular people, whatever that means,
not blogger,
not
junkies.
right. If I run into you with in the bar or on the street, and I start telling you, your vote isn't your voice. Voting doesn't change it. Some kind of weird
critique
rhetoric
of the
about
power overlay, and
that's going to have an incredibly disempowering effect on you.
Yeah.
If you were sitting there thinking, man, this is so exciting, I'm going to vote for Obama, and he really stands for a lot of my ideas, or the conversation where I come to you and say, you're all wrong. Everything you believe is a bunch of BS, and you should opt out of the whole system, like me. You're not gonna be persuaded by that.
Right.
You're gonna think I'm some lunatic, and rightly you probably should, because it's just not realistic to you. It doesn't jive with your experience.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people on the far left, like to kind of get on their soapbox and their high horse and whatever other lofty metaphors they can find. And I find it just entirely counterproductive, and it's taking these ideas, right or wrong, and just really failing to place them into the real world.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's historically really kind of inaccurate, because things do change. I mean, and a lot of what I see our task now is defining what that election just meant. And I feel like, it's big, and we can go big, and we can, say, well, there was a civil war in the 19th century, and then the Republicans owned the presidency for a long time, and there was a civil war in the 1960s, and Nixon's Southern strategy, they've really, Republicans have held power pretty well in the executive branch throughout. And we can say that's over now. The Southern strategy doesn't. Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia Senate seat might still fall. We're still, maybe when you guys see this on Monday, we'll know, but Missouri's still out there. That's real live that's real life stuff. That's real change. So that kind of